only because people misnamed them, I think. One is an actual simplex repeater they used to use quite often, and what it does is simply record your voice onto a bubble chip somewhere, and about 5 seconds later repeats what you just said. So it goes in to the machine on the same frequency it comes out. So you can hit the machine with maybe 5 watts, it'll come out with 30. So you can talk to somebody on the other side of the county. The problem is short bursts of information only. And we're talking about less than 15 seconds. The second thing is a simplex frequency, which people call it that. It's really what we call call frequencies. And the national call frequency, because I always have it written down, I have it in my handheld, but I hardly ever use it. But if you need to use it, it's 146.52. And that's what Copperas Cove calls their simplex frequency. So another thing to think about is that in amateur radio, nobody really owns a frequency except people who are registered with a repeater. So if a guy can put up a repeater in any frequency, he can do that. But if there's another repeater within 30, 40 miles, guess who's guilty of interfering with the frequency? The guy who isn't registered. So even if the guy has just a paper frequency, which we call, which is what some guys will do, they'll go ahead and apply for the license, get it, and it'll take the next 2 years to try to get the equipment. These are called paper frequencies. Well, the guy there was a case actually in Houston where a guy tried to sue the guy with the paper frequency when he got online. But he didn't have a leg to stand on because he wasn't registered. So, there's that thing to think about. So while I'm on this, in the handbooks, and I made a copy of this for me because I carry two checklists. This is a radio equipment checklist because I operate several kinds of radios in my ham shack, and I'm stupid. I can't remember everything, and if I had all my manuals out, I'd probably have a manual book this thick. The other one is basically a checklist that I need to take care of procedures and protocols. And this also has a list of frequencies that some of my stuff is programmed with. So I just want to go over a couple of things that bother people when they get on the third kind of repeater I was going to talk about, and that's the duplex. A duplex machine receives, like on one frequency and sends out on the other. What you are listening to, and what you normally program in your radios, is the receive frequency. Most radios, when you plug that in, automatically know, oh, this is a repeater list. This will come between something in here. Let's see, that's 420. 440, I mean. There we go. As you can tell, there are frequencies for CW, RIDI, CW, beacons, phone, and some of it is for slow scan TV, AM, of course, code, satellite. Then there's a repeater. Oops, went too far again, didn't I? Then there are the 2-meter repeater inputs. Well, I have it in here somewhere. I feel stupid now. Here we go. I guess I didn't put that in. Yes, I did. Here we have, well, what we normally work is somewhere between 144 and 148 megahertz. And in that area, the radio automatically picked what we call the offset, up 600, down 600 hertz or kilohertz, and that's what we do. So when that's called duplex, and they have these huge duplexers that are about this high off the ground. They get about 4 of them per what do you call it, radio they have on the air. Now the problem with the local clean repeater It's only 35 feet off the ground. It's in a guy's backyard. He was a ham operator who had a club, and the club made certain demands on him, and he couldn't keep up with the demands. Eventually, the club fell apart, and he felt betrayed and all that, and don't blame him. So he ended up having to pay for radio space on a tower, so he took it home. I mean, what are you going to do? One of the problems was that ARRL wanted him to put up a particular kind of wind link so that they could have 2-meter frequencies all the way from Dallas over to Lampasas. And now ARRL has money to pay for that if they want it. They weren't going to pay him. That's cost about $2,000 a piece for some special equipment. And there was something like $5,000–6,000 involved. He didn't have money. He's retired. So he has everything set up that he needs in the backyard, and he lets people use it. It's that simple. He's a nice guy, easy to get along with, and his name is Ken Wyndham. He's KK5 Alpha November. He's an extra class ham. Now, there are some things, I talked to Ken a few months ago, I couldn't get him today, but there are some things that are really hard to accept on any repeater. First of all, you don't just key down onto repeater without giving your call sign. And I'm going to bet on the gum here. I'm hoping I can hit the repeater over at Cove, and I don't think they've sent out a call sign. The repeater sends out a call sign every 10 minutes by itself. So I want to try this. This is what it would sound like if you didn't key it. I'm going to make it legal in a minute. Huh, I guess I can't hit it. K8BPZ. That's all you have to do to make it legal. Just give your call sign. The same when you tune an HF radio. Well, how do I tune it if it's not going to tune, you know? Well, the minute you start automatic tuner, you can actually put your call sign out. If you have an old style radio and you tune into a dummy load, there's no worry there. It's when you go to the antenna to tune the antenna to the radio you just tuned, you're starting to have problems. So when you press the talk only without a call sign, that's kind of a no-no. It really irritates. Matter of fact, Ken will often turn his off when he gets a lot of that. Call sign. If you trigger the radio and the call sign comes on, you let the call sign go. I mean, you let it play out. It's a legal requirement, and you're just stepping on the radio. It's kind of unpolite, even though it's a machine. Don't use Q codes. What's your QTH?
Basically,
Where
I guess
you're-
it's
where are
shorthand,
you?
but speaking.
Yeah, it's okay on HF, particularly with Morse code. I mean, and that's what they use. But as far as the rest of it, they usually use Q codes on FM. No CQ. You don't call it CQ, 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 KAPPZ. You call, just give your call sign. If you're hunting for somebody like Ken or Listen McKinley, KIA5BVQ, KABBZ. Give the one you want to call first, and then give yours. That's all you have to do. If you just want to go on there and say you're passing through, KBPZ monitoring, that means that I may pass out of your range and I may not be able to sign off. See, no 10 codes. 10-4, good buddy? No, it doesn't work. You'll be laughed off the air. Just be polite. And the best thing to do is to listen, listen, listen. See how the other operators operate. Look up if you can get the call sign, which is transmitted at the end of their little thing. Like you'll have, it'll be, see what's it? Da-da-da, da-da-da, did-it-did-it, da-da, da-dit. That's what you'll hear on the local repeater here. Look it up in the call sign book or on ARRL. Or Even better yet, go straight to fcc.gov if you want. You can look it up there too. And you can learn a lot about where it is, what the antenna height is. Get to know the guy. Call him up if it's not look him up in the receiver book. The ARRL has them online, and there's some other places. And they either have a club call sign or they'll have the individual's call sign on it. Get to know the guys. They'll be more apt to talk to you. Oh, I know that person. He made the attempt to say hello. So that's kind of the protocol. Now, if you want to set the frequency up on a radio, there are certain steps. Now, what do you have? The Bofang knockoffs?
Yeah.
Those are good radios. There's nothing wrong with them. At first, when they came out, they didn't do too much. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Now mine's I got before Bofang. Mine's, you can tell by the wear and tear, and I'm missing a button. I've got the replacement part.
Not gonna do it.
I'm not going to do it right now. All it does is makes the light work. So, there are two plays, and it says so very easily on your Bofang types. You have, on your radio, you have two variable frequency oscillators, VFOs, A and B. Most people work on the A side. You're allowed to have, I think, 200 frequency pairs, if I'm not mistaken. I'm allowed 1,000.
Dang.
I only have 60 in here. I mean, I've been all over the U.S. I only have 60. I mean, just the major ones that I know hit on the road, like from here to my daughter's place or here to someplace else I like to go to. And I usually keep the radio off until I need it because the phone coverage is much better. But sometimes, as you know, the phone is out. So the first thing you want to do is to go into VFO mode. And that's what I just did. I went to, I don't know what buttons you press on there, but you go to VFO mode. And I'm going to put a simplex frequency in here, which was 146.52. I'm on 146.53. How about that? I only have to turn the knob down twice, or I could punch it in there. So I have 146.52. And I'm going to go from here to the memory part. Gosh, what is that now? I'm going to go, well, first of all, I'm going to set up, there's no code you have to set up. You have to set up code. And if it's on that frequency, it's not going to let you set one up anyway. So you're going to go to, forget how to do it on this. The instruction book on this is 75 pages. Yeah, I don't carry it around. You go to the band, well, that's band. 146.52, let me get back down there. It's been so long since I've done this. Okay, I can go from here, I think. There it is. It sets up on the next frequency, right? So all I have to do is press this. Now I go to that frequency, which is 62, or 65, excuse me. And there it is. I had it on 82 instead, so I misdialed it. That's the way it works. It's that simple. You go to the VFO, and then you press the memory you want and key the transmitter. Now, I think that's the way it works on the Bofang too. The easiest way to do it, if you have several frequencies you want to set up here, is to get the intercord and
get on the computer.
Get on Chirp. This works on Chirp too. I had to get a separate core because it's a little different. And you can program whatever frequencies you want. Now, I did it a little differently. As you can tell, I write a lot. Here are the 64 frequencies I had in there. And I have their call signs. I make a list so that I can check it. And that's what I have. And then I can go through and manually or put this into the computer. I'm about finished. Any questions?
No, not yet.
Yeah. When are you guys going to get on HF?
So I keep trying